have a secret to tell you. There is something happening in our world that will be the end of everything. As we speak now, there is a plan being developed to implement the arrival of the Antichrist, and you are part of that plan. What is about to happen very soon will change your life. At first, the world will seem like heaven, but soon our life will be transformed into hell. In the next few minutes I will explain to you how countries are preparing for the arrival of the Antichrist, what signs you need to pay attention to, and how you will prepare for this moment. Stay with me until the end of this video and I promise you that you will be transformed. You will learn a secret that no one is willing to tell you, but I will. I go because I care about you and because we Christians need to help and love each other as Jesus taught us. This evil plan, my brother, that you and I are part of, begins with globalism. Globalism is an ideology that seeks cooperation between nations in various areas, such as economics, politics, culture, and the environment. One of the concepts associated with globalism is the idea of a world without borders, where geographic and political barriers are reduced in favor of greater integration and collaboration between countries. On the other hand, the creation of a single and centralized government implies the concentration of political and administrative power in a single authority, which would govern over the entire global territory. This central authority would have control over issues such as legislation, law enforcement, public policies, among others. We Christians believe that this authority figure will be the Antichrist, a demonic leader who will lead all nations, promoting a false peace and unity that would ultimately lead to spiritual and moral decay. In antiquity, there are reports that illustrate attempts to centralize control. A notable example is in the Bible, in the story of the Tower of Babel, Genesis 11 verses 1 to 9. This episode is perhaps the most famous example of early globalization efforts, dating back to approximately the 21st century BC. The construction of the Tower of Babel was in direct disobedience to the divine command to populate the earth. The story of the Tower of Babel begins with humanity living in a single community and speaking a single language. They decide to build a great tower that would reach the heavens, a symbol of their ambition and unity. However, their intention is seen as direct disobedience to the divine order to populate the earth, given previously. In Genesis 9 verse 1, where we find the following passage, "Then God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth." This verse is part of the account of the flood and the subsequent period, in which Noah and his family are the only survivors. After leaving the ark, God makes a covenant with Noah, promising never again to destroy all life on earth with a flood. He blesses Noah and his sons, giving them the responsibility to repopulate the earth. By deciding to build the tower, the people were going against God's direct order to disperse across the earth. Instead of spreading out as ordered, they concentrated in one place, defying divine will. Furthermore, the tower became a symbol of idolatry and rebellion. People began to trust themselves more than God. They thought they could be like gods, doing everything on their own. This was like turning their back on God and saying they didn't need Him anymore. They wanted to control everything, unifying everyone under a single government and a single language. God, upon seeing what they are doing, decides to confuse their languages, scattering them across the face of the earth and preventing them from completing their tower. This account is loaded with symbolic meaning and implications about the human desire for control and the centralization of power. The construction of the Tower of Babel represents an attempt to achieve divinity, defying the limits established by God. The unity of people and common communication are seen as a threat to the divine order, which prefers diversity and dispersion. Furthermore, the story of the Tower of Babel can also be interpreted as a reflection on the dangers of arrogance and excessive ambition. The tower's builders believed they could defy the heavens themselves, but their ambition was quickly thwarted by divine intervention. This highlights the idea that there are limits to human power and that the unbridled pursuit of control can lead to destruction and dispersion. Throughout history, we repeatedly see examples of attempts to centralize control, both at political and social levels. Empires were built with the aim of unifying territories and peoples under a single government. However, these empires often faced internal and external challenges, and eventually fell due to their own ambition and the resistance of the people they attempted to subjugate. Throughout biblical history, there were other attempts to centralize power, but before we talk about this other historical example, Just check if you have already left a like on the video and if you are subscribed to the channel to receive more videos like this. Going back to our history, Nebuchadnezzar's reign was another great example of centralized power. In the history of great empires, few sovereigns stand out as imposingly as Nebuchadnezzar II, the legendary ruler of the vast Babylonian Empire. His reign, which lasted for almost 4 decades, is often cited as one of the best examples of centralization of power in antiquity. Nebuchadnezzar ascended the throne at a crucial moment in Babylonian history, facing internal and external challenges. To consolidate his power, he adopted an energetic policy of centralization, concentrating authority and resources in his hands. One of Nebuchadnezzar's main strategies was the implementation of a highly hierarchical administration. He appointed loyal officials in key positions throughout the empire, ensuring that his will was imposed at all levels of government. This efficient organizational structure allowed him to closely oversee the empire's affairs and maintain firm control over its vast lands. Furthermore, Nebuchadnezzar invested heavily in the construction of monuments and public projects, not only to glorify his own reign, but also to demonstrate the power and grandeur of the Babylonian Empire. The famous Hanging Garden of Babylon, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, is a testament to the architectural splendor promoted by Nebuchadnezzar. Another crucial aspect of his centralization policy was the imposition of a unified imperial culture. Nebuchadnezzar promoted the Babylonian language, religion, and traditions as unifying elements within the empire, suppressing cultural diversity that could threaten the cohesion of the state. However, Nebuchadnezzar's reign was also marked by his authoritarian personality and severe measures against any form of opposition. His reputation as a ruthless ruler echoed throughout the empire, serving as a clear warning to those who challenged his authority. He employed harsh measures to silence any form of opposition, demonstrating how authoritarian regimes always resort to repression to maintain control. In short, the reign of Nebuchadnezzar II is a classic example of centralization of power in ancient history. And how did his reign end? In Daniel chapter 4, we are introduced to a Nebuchadnezzar troubled by a dream that plagues him. This dream, interpreted by Daniel, is a grim prediction of what was to come, a period of humiliation and madness for the king, who would become like a wild animal, cut off from human society for 7 long years. The reason behind this divine ordeal? Nebuchadnezzar's excessive arrogance and lack of recognition of God's sovereignty with his centralizing government. Nebuchadnezzar, once the ultimate symbol of earthly power and arrogance, is now confronted with his own fragility and limitation in the face of divine power. His experience serves as a powerful reminder that even the most powerful among us are not above the authority and will of God. After analyzing these failed attempts at excessive centralization of power, we have concrete proof that it is completely contrary to God's plans and will be punished. Both episodes illustrate the dangers of arrogance and excessive ambition, and the need for humility and submission to divine principles. In Genesis 11 verses 1 to 9, as we have already mentioned, God explicitly prohibits the centralization of human power, demonstrating that his will is for humanity to live in harmony and obedience to his commandments, recognizing his sovereignty over all things. Now, my brothers, we can ask ourselves, is globalism yet another attempt to centralize power? Well, based on what we have been analyzing in recent years, we can conclude that yes. Globalism is a new world order that will establish a centralized government for the arrival of Antichrist. According to the prophecy in the book of Revelation, we are facing something gigantic, the Antichrist's total control over the world. This power will be unlike anything we've ever seen. It will be stronger than the great empires of the past, such as Alexander the Great's or Genghis Khan's Mongol Empire. Even the British Empire, which was once huge, will seem small compared to what the Antichrist will conquer. Even the powerful Roman and Ottoman empires, which dominated many places, will be small compared to the control that the Antichrist will have. He will have power over everyone, no matter who they are, where they come from or what language they speak. 2 excerpts from the Apocalypse show how the Antichrist will have absolute power. Revelation 13 verse 7, "It was given to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given to him over all tribes and languages and nations." Revelation 13 verse 16, "He causes everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead. These truths describe the power and influence that the Antichrist will have over our world, as well as the challenges that we will be forced to face and that we will have to prepare ourselves so that when that moment comes we are ready and strong to survive it. Don't you agree, my brother? Leave a comment saying, "I trust in God," and let's remain strong and confident that even in the face of scary scenarios like these, we overcome because we have God on our side. Now, let's understand a little more about what this new world government will be like in practice. Imagine a time when the entire world will be governed by a single person, with total and unlimited control, fueled by the power of evil and led by Satan. This will be highlighted by the mark that this figure, known as the beast, will demand everyone have, regardless of who they are, where they live, or what they own. This mark, placed on the right hand or forehead, will not only be a sign of loyalty, but a way of controlling people in a way never seen before, a permanent mark of obedience. Those who accept this mark will be considered doomed, destined for a terrible fate. Through it, the beast, or Antichrist, will have control over who can buy or sell, essentially deciding who is allowed to participate in society and survive. Imagine what that would mean in a world where more and more things are controlled digitally and surveillance is omnipresent. With the arrival of this evil figure, the scenario described in the book of Revelation will become our reality, our daily lives. The Antichrist's government will be more oppressive than anything we have ever seen, creating a world where anyone who opposes it will be silenced and swiftly punished. This dominance is not just on the surface of the world, it penetrates deep into the way society works. No matter who you are, rich, poor, young or old, everyone will be affected. The Antichrist's government will not leave anyone out, it will reach every corner of the world, no matter the language or culture. This brand that everyone will be forced to use represents an enormous power of control. It's not just about controlling what people do, but also influencing what they think and believe. In Revelation 14 verses 9 to 10 and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, "If anyone worships the beast and his image and receives his mark on his forehead or on his hand, he will also drink the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his wrath, and will be tormented with fire and brimstone before the holy angels and before the Lamb." The text vividly describes the punishment that awaits those who follow this path. Imagine facing God's wrath without any dilution, as if it were the wine of wrath itself being poured over you. The scene is described as a torment of fire and brimstone before the holy angels and the Lamb. It's a powerful image that makes us reflect on the choices we make. Choosing to follow evil and accept the mark of the beast will lead to terrible and permanent condemnation before God. This verse highlights the crucial importance of choosing between following the path of darkness or remaining faithful to God, as the consequences are profoundly serious. The Antichrist, with his global power and absolute control, is like a great dark warning about what could happen in our lives in the future. It represents what will happen when evil wants to take God's place. This makes us feel an urgency to understand and deal with the danger of this uncontrolled power. Many of us live without thinking about our future, many don't think about what will happen the next day. It is important for us who are Christians to reflect on our past so that we can ask for forgiveness for our sins and think about the future so as not to repeat the same sins. It's very sad to think, but if we analyze our life very honestly, we can see that most of the time we are hindered by our vanity, gluttony, laziness, greed, lust, and many other sins that, if we think about it, are nothing compared to living in a world controlled by the Antichrist. We live in a super-connected world, where technology and commerce bring people together in ways never before imagined. But it is precisely in this connection that the Antichrist finds room to grow. Our global society, with all its connections, is the perfect setting for the Antichrist to exercise his tyrannical rule. With the speed of information and constant connection, centralized power can spread across the world like never before. That's why, my brother, it's extremely important that you think about this. Think about the Antichrist, about the signs that we just revealed to you, and prepare to live these difficult moments. Furthermore, you need to remember, God is in control. Despite all the chaos in the world, he remains in strong command, and his plan continues to move forward, from ancient times to this day. Empires may rise and fall, nations may change, but God guides history. His protection is more powerful than the plans of humans. When things get difficult and scary, it's easy to panic. But it is at these times that we need to remember that God is with us. His protection is stronger than any plan we can make. So even when the world seems out of control, we can find comfort knowing that God is in charge. He has a plan for everything, and He never leaves us alone. Think of the story of the Tower of Babel as a clear example of human pride and defiance. Even when people tried to concentrate power and reach the heavens, God intervened, scattering and confusing them. This showed that He is superior to human plans, reminding us that His will prevail, even when we face the signs of the end times and see the emergence of the Antichrist. Even in the midst of the shadows that try to obscure our path, we do not need to give in to fear or despair. In times of uncertainty and confusion, God's light shines brightest, guiding us safely through the darkness. Evil forces may try to deceive us, seducing us with empty and illusory promises of power and control. However, even as the Antichrist appears to exert his dominance over the world, we must remember that God's power transcends any earthly leader. His divine light dispels darkness and His sovereign purposes prevail over all things. In this time of turbulence and challenge, it is crucial that we maintain our unshakable faith in God, our protector and guide. In His infinite wisdom and love, He sustains and strengthens us, even when we face the most terrible adversities. Every obstacle we encounter on our path is an opportunity to demonstrate our trust in God's faithfulness. He has promised us His constant presence and His unfailing care, and we can rest secure in His promises, knowing that He is greater than any circumstance we may face. Therefore, my brother, lift your eyes to the sky, where God's eternal light shines, and let us walk with courage and determination, confident that He is with us every step of the way. In His steadfast love, we find strength, hope, and security, even in the darkest of times. Therefore, do not be afraid, for the Lord is always by His side, even in the darkest hours. Trust Him and He will guide you with His light, leading you along the path of truth and righteousness. Hold fast to His faithfulness, for He always keeps His promises. In Isaiah 41 verse 10 we read, "So do not fear, for I am with you, do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you, I will uphold you with my victorious right hand." In this verse, God not only invites us to abandon fear, but assures us of His constant presence. He is not distant or indifferent to our suffering, He is at our side, ready to strengthen and sustain us in all circumstances. He is not just a passive observer of our struggles, He is our God, active and powerful on our behalf. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. These words are a reminder that we are not alone in our journey. In God, we find a safe refuge, an inexhaustible source of strength and hope. He is the one who goes beyond our limits, enabling us to face challenges that we could never overcome by our own abilities. I will strengthen you and help you. These are promises from a God who not only accompanies us, but also intervenes in our lives. When we feel weak, He infuses us with His own strength. When we feel lost, He guides us with His unfailing wisdom. There is no obstacle too great, no burden too heavy for the Lord to bear. And I will uphold Him with my victorious right hand. This image resonates with divine power and authority. The right hand is often associated with strength and power. When God holds our right hand, He places us under His invincible protection. No matter how fierce the battle, no matter how strong the storm, we can rest in the knowledge that we are safe in His hands. Therefore, I hope that these sacred words touch His heart, ending all fear and uncertainty. May we walk with courage, trusting in the unfailing promise that the Lord is with us, strengthening us, helping us, and holding us with His victorious right hand. Courage is the inner strength that drives us to face challenges, overcome obstacles and move forward, even when everything seems uncertain. It is the ability to act despite fear, to persist in the face of adversity and to never give up on our dreams and values. However, courage alone is often not enough. It's when we trust in something greater than ourselves that we find a source of unwavering strength and hope. Trusting God is believing that, regardless of the circumstances, we are always guided and supported by divine wisdom that transcends our understanding. When we combine courage with trust in God, we experience an inner peace that sustains us even in the most difficult moments. We know that we are not alone on our journey, that there is a loving presence at our side, ready to strengthen us and lead us through challenges. Having courage and trusting in God does not mean the absence of fear, but rather the ability to face it with determination and faith. It is understanding that, even when we do not understand the plans that are being drawn up, we can trust that everything happens for a reason and that, in the end, everything will fall into place according to divine will. Therefore, may we cultivate courage in our hearts and trust God in every moment of life. May this combination guide us, inspire us, and strengthen us, allowing us to face each challenge with hope, gratitude, and love. Thank you very much for watching this video until the end. Leave a comment below with the learning you learned from this video. Remember to leave a like, activate notifications to receive our new videos, and subscribe to the channel if you are not already subscribed.